afternoon. Welcome back to Football League World TV. It's time for the final show of the week, and that means it's time for the weekend preview. I'm your host, George Dagless, and joining me this afternoon is Chris Gallagher and Billy Mulley. Chris, how are you?
Yeah, good, thanks. Looking forward to another good weekend of fixtures, so it's going to be important as well for a lot of teams.
Certainly is. Billy, how are you getting on?
Yeah, very well, thank you. As Chris says, some good fixtures to get our teeth stuck into, and we're coming into the crunch end of the season now, so yeah, it's all that more important.
6 games to talk about across the EFL weekend in the next 20 minutes or so, 2 in each division. Do get in touch, let us know if you're going to a game this weekend, what are the predictions you've got for your side. We are across Facebook, YouTube and Twitter. Let's get going though, and we start with the Championship. We're going to look at the lunchtime game at Ewood Park. First of all, Blackburn Rovers welcoming QPR to Lancashire, 5th playing 3rd. Chris, let's come to you first of all. Blackburn have been in a bit of a dip in recent weeks, and particularly a crucial time of the season now where momentum is key. This is a really important game for them, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I think the manner of the Sheffield United defeat is one that's going to have hurt the Blackburn fans a lot, because I think even the way it was playing out, they'd have been upset with the draw. The way you got 10 men, you have a penalty, so it was a real great opportunity to get 3 points. So even getting a draw would have been bad, but to lose how they did was a bit of a sickness. So it's about bouncing back as quickly as possible. That's the good thing about the Championship, is the games come thick and fast, and it's going to test their mentality really, because you'd presume they'll be feeling low after that loss, and it's just about trying to get a win. I think they're 5 without a win, and as you said, momentum can play such a key part, so they've got to just find a way of winning. It doesn't get any easier. QPR, they had struggled themselves until their win midweek, but they're still a side packed full of quality players, so it's not going to be easy. But Blackburn, they probably take some sort of encouragement from the way they played, but they're still missing key men, so it's going to be a very tough afternoon. They're just going to have to try and grind out a win in front of their own fans.
As Chris mentions, Billy, that QPR still, not QPR, Blackburn are still missing some key players. Tony Mowbray's urged those that are available to really step up, but so far they've not really done so, have they? Which ones do you think need to try and come to the plate tomorrow in what is a massive game for both teams?
I think, looking specifically, I think it's the attacking department that's not firing as it should be at the moment. I know Ben Brereton Diaz will be missing, but ultimately they still have all these creative outlets and forward players that can carve out chances, and it's just about finding confidence. I think that's the key factor here, just finding confidence in front of goal. As Chris was alluding to there, I think it was a decent enough performance against Sheffield United, with Sheffield United being probably the best team in the division, bar Fulham at the moment. So, to go there and play well for 90 minutes, that's somewhat of a boost. It's now just combining that with finding the finishing touch again. Their goal scoring record, as I say, has been awful. 5 games without a goal, just form that really starts to make you think, are they genuinely playoff contenders at this point? And it's crazy to think that, considering a month ago we were calling them automatic contenders. So a massive game for Blackburn here against a side that have also shown a bit of inconsistency in recent weeks.
As Billy mentions, Chris, QPR have only just themselves got back to, because obviously Blackburn can take, I guess, a little bit of heart from that, showing that it can be done. QPR only had 10 men for a large period of their game against Blackpool in the week. Showed some great resilience, didn't they, to win against the Tangerines. Interestingly, that Mark Warburton opted to go without a sort of recognised striker in that one. Do you think he'll look to play a similar side again this weekend?
It's tough on that, because he obviously felt he had to do that because Gray, Austin, and a few others haven't been scoring goals. So the idea, you could understand the theory of it, but maybe it might work away from home if they're allowed to counter-attack. If you have Chair and Willock in the attacking positions, there might be players who can pick a pass or fight, or maybe Willock uses pace to get in behind. So he might persist to that, but then equally so they might be under pressure where they have to go long. So the fact he resorted to playing without a natural number 9 shows how concerned he was. And then in the end they did get the win, which is all that matters. But yeah, he's clearly not too happy about it, and it will be interesting to see what he does. I'm actually not too sure what he will do. But I suppose the good thing is he does have options. So if one isn't working, he is able to tweak things, which is always good for any manager.
How do you think QPR will approach this one, Billy? I mean, they have got back to winning ways, but that sort of dip in form will still be relatively fresh in their minds. Think they'd be happy with a draw this weekend?
Yeah, going to Blackburn, of course, it's a difficult place to go to. QPR still have automatic ambitions at the moment. It's just 2 points, although Blackburn do have all those, not Blackburn, sorry, Bournemouth have all those games in hand. So in that respect, I think they want to be winning every game at the moment. And the fact that Blackburn have been in this dodgy form, they will probably be viewing this as another opportunity for 3 points. But ultimately, I think a draw would be good enough here. As you say, QPR not in the best of form themselves. Sam McCullum potentially coming back in could be a huge boost, both defensively speaking and going forward. And it allows Chris Willock to play in his more favoured attacking midfield position. It'd be interesting to see, as we were discussing there, about what he does do in terms of his attacking options. Does he bring Gray or Austin in? I think Lyndon Dykes, I'm not too sure if he's still injured for this one. But there's definitely options. One of the squads in the division that there's options. Everyone on the bench can come in and do a job in the starting 11. So I still think QPR will be okay coming into this clash. I think it'll be a very good game, and it'll be very telling, I think, the end result.
Okay, let's talk about the final score now then. Chris, we'll come to you first. What's your score prediction here?
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be a lot to separate these two, so I'll go for 1-1.
Okay, Billy, how do you see it playing out?
I'm going to go for a narrow 1-0 for QPR.
Okay, Rangers will certainly take that one. One other game we're going to talk about in the Championship on the weekend preview show, and that is down towards the bottom of the league. Peterborough United welcome Hull City at 3 o'clock tomorrow. A big game, obviously, for both sides, given the landscape of the table. And Billy, we'll come to you first of all. Peterborough got Grant McCann back in charge now, and it's so often the case in football that a manager's first game is against one of his former sides. Grant McCann is going to have the bit between his teeth, you would imagine, to try and get a victory against his former employers this weekend.
Yeah, he'll be loving that this is the first game. Quite harshly marched out of Hull in terms of the new takeover happened, and there was obviously Aiken Charlie obviously had that in mind. I think Hull were in excellent form at that time as well, making it that little bit more strange. And since Shotter's come in, it hasn't really gone to plan. So in that respect, Grant McCann will be hoping that his new side can go and do the business. I think Peterborough have been quite tough to beat at home this season. I think they've averaged 1.13 points per game, and when you look at sort of the individual results that they've got there and the individual performances, they have been tough to break down. Lacking a little bit of creativity, it does appear to be at the moment. I think it's 1 goal in 6 as well. So I think it's clear to see where they need to improve upon. But as we say, we always see this. Well, we tend to see this new manager bounce. We've seen it quite a lot in the EFL this season, and that's exactly what Peterborough need at the moment. Grant McCann, I think, is a good appointment. Obviously knows the club. He gets on with the owner, which is massive. And he definitely does have a tough task on his hand, but he'll be relishing this opportunity. And I think this is a great way to kick off his managerial reign against the club he knows very, very well.
As for Hull, Chris, a couple of decent draws at Sheffield United and QPR. Games that perhaps they weren't expected to get too much out of. But then the hope would have been to consolidate and win against Barnsley last time out. And of course, they lost 2-0. So this, is another big game, similar level to the one against the Tigers. How do you think they go about this one? Is it a must-win game, do you think, for the Tigers? It's obviously still a bit of a gap to the relegation zone, but they need to be, putting the sides below them further away than giving them hope and let them get closer.
Yeah, I'd probably say it's a must not lose for them, because if the gap does become, I think it would be 10 points if they do lose, and then Peterborough would have 2 games in hand. That's when you start, if they pick up points in those games in hand, you start getting nervous quite quickly. So I think if they avoid defeat, they'll still feel they've got a gap that will keep them going for another few weeks at least. But I think the Barnsley result, but more so the performance, is going to leave the fans a bit worried. As you said, they'd got a few good draws, and then that was the game that you think, if you get the win here, you can breathe a lot more easily and start looking up maybe. But yes, I think the way they played, they've really struggled to create chances, as Billy's touched on, and it has to be a worry going into this game because and obviously we can't rule out Derby. I know they've stuttered a bit, but they've shown they're capable of getting a lot of points against most teams in the league. So if they start closing the gap as well, Hull are going to be worried, and so this is a massive game for them.
Certainly an important game for both sides. Billy, let's get your score prediction for this one.
I'm a big believer in the new manager buzz, and for that reason, I think a 2-0 Peterborough victory.
Okay, I'd imagine a few West Brom fans would be disagreeing with your theories around new manager bounce at the moment, Billy, but we'll move away from that one. Chris, what's your score prediction?
I do agree with Billy. I think it'll be 2-1 to Peterborough in a nervy game for both.
Okay, we will see what happens. A big game, though, down near the bottom of the Championship table. Moving away from the Championship, we'll talk League One next, but we're keeping with the theme of a relegation scrap. We're talking Wimbledon against Doncaster. This is another big game. Doncaster have shown a little bit of life in recent weeks, just 4 points behind the Dons now. They have played a couple of games more, but win this one, and it's really going to tighten up in terms of the relegation scrap. Chris, let's come to you first of all. Doncaster will probably go into this one maybe more confident than Wimbledon. Do you think it's fair to say?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I think we've seen at the bottom. I think Gillingham had a little bounce when Neil Harris came in, and if you can get wins when you are in the relegation zone, even just getting 2 and 3 as Doncaster have done, it does give you a lot more hope and belief quite quickly that things can turn around. So yeah, I think there will be. Looking forward to this one. It's a great opportunity to really close the gap. I think the issue this season had been conceding goals. They're obviously not the most prolific scorers either, but they've been shipping goals for fun, and they've managed to keep 2 clean sheets in the last 3 with those wins. So that's given them a basis to believe. And even the defeat against Sheffield Wednesday, they did deserve to lose on the day, but they were 1 up, I think, and they're making it nervous for the Owls. So that will have given them belief as well. They can do it against one of the better sides in the league. So yeah, I think they're in a good place going into this game. Obviously, it doesn't count for everything, but it's going to give them it's going to help them going into the game, and they'll be looking forward to it.
Yeah, Billy, as for Wimbledon, how much pressure do you think is on them this weekend? They know that Doncaster can be really breathing down their necks if they lose. They're at home, so they'll be expected to win by their supporters. And then after this game, they've got Wigan and Plymouth, so it's not going to get any easier for Wimbledon. This is a match really they need to get 3 points from because they're not probably too sure where the next win's going to come from, particularly the form they've been in recent weeks as well. There's quite a lot of pressure on, isn't there, on the South London club?
Yeah, massive pressure on them. 14 games, I think it is, without a win. And, when you've got a relentless schedule, as the EFL is at the moment, where fixtures are coming in thick and fast, it's quite hard to get out of that non-winning habit. And that's exactly where they find themselves at the moment. To be fair, they have been plagued with a lot of injuries this season, and particularly at the moment. I think Alex Woodyard, Jack Rodoni and Hartigan as well are all out, all integral first teamers, all have played a big part in large parts of this season as well. So having that whilst in a relegation battle, whilst in awful form, that's not the best recipe to go with it. And I think they might be boosted with the return of Ayub Bassal, but at the same time, the 3 players I've just mentioned are so vital in that Wimbledon side, playing a Doncaster team that probably looking at it are in the best form they've been. The confidence levels have completely risen, and I think sort of looking at their January business as well, it sort of worked wonders for them. Looking at Josh Martin coming in, he's been really, really lively, and combine that with Mipo Odebeko and Matt Smith at the moment. Those are 3 really lively players that are causing problems. And I think it's going to be a really, really interesting one because they're 2 teams that play sort of a similar style. Both got very young players. They both play very good football. It's just now we're coming into sort of this crunch end of the season where the project-based element of football doesn't really matter as much. It's now coming to the point where results are pivotal, and that makes it very, very difficult for a Wimbledon side that haven't won in 14 games.
All about who's going to handle the occasion best, I think, this weekend. Having said all of that, then Chris, let's get your score prediction for this one.
I think I'm going to go with the form on this one. I'll go for Doncaster to nick a 1-0.
Okay, that'll certainly make it very interesting down at the bottom of League One. Billy, how are you calling it?
Yeah, I'm going to go for a continuation of Doncaster's sort of conceding lots of goals and scoring lots of goals. And I think that goes back to Wimbledon at the start of the season. I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw.
Okay, Donny would certainly take that. One other game to talk about in League One, and it's Wigan against Sunderland, a game that's up the right end of the League One table. Billy, we'll come to you first of all and talk Wigan. They're a side that has kept their promotion credentials and title-winning credentials on track in recent weeks. A good win against Wycombe last time out. They'll probably be relishing putting another side just slightly below them away, won't they? And further cementing their place inside the top two.
Yeah, very good time for them to play Sunderland at the moment. Obviously, Sunderland have got all their troubles going on. Alex Neil trying to adapt to life as Sunderland boss. I think, as seen from Sunderland fans voicing their opinions, I think that the problems lie outside of the playing squad and, the coaching staff as well. So, for Wigan, they'll be licking at their lips at this fixture. Got a massive compliment from Gareth Ainsworth during the week, saying that Wigan were the best side in division. Stuck by that said by Miles as well. So I think that's a massive compliment, but also a big sort of suggestion to how good of a job that Liam Richardson has done this year. Managed to compile together a very strong squad. They've got that real good balance of experience and exciting players coming through. I think Callum Lang, the rise he's enjoyed this season, has been really, really good to see. Competition for places is really, really high. You look at their bench and that they're all pretty much all players that could be playing at the top end of League One, which again is a massive factor in why they've been so successful. But for me, the best thing about Wigan this season is their ability to bounce back from little setbacks. Every time they've drawn or lost, and fans have been not too happy with the performance, that they've backed it up with a very good performance, almost as if like a sorry that we played badly before. And I think that's the difference between them and Sunderland this year, because Sunderland have played as good as Wigan at times. It's just that they haven't been able to back it up on a consistent basis, whereas Wigan have gone the other way. And I think this consistency factor is a big reason as to why they should go on and secure promotion. And we'll be looking at this one as a more than a winnable game, one that they should be winning.
Chris, we mentioned new manager bounce earlier on in the show, talking about Peterborough hoping to get some with Grant McCann. Sunderland have had Alex Neil in there for 3 matches now, but there's been little sign of a new manager bounce there, hasn't there? Why do you think he's struggling at the moment with Sunderland?
To be fair, I think a lot of the issues with Sunderland do stem from the recruitment and further higher up at the club. I think he's inherited a pretty imbalanced squad there. I think they're lacking in midfield and defence, probably one good player in each position, and that can be hard. Again, that's not to say that he shouldn't be doing better with the squad he's got. It's not to absolve him of all the blame, because he is working with a lot of talented players, and especially going forward, and they're not really clicking at all. So yeah, it's a tough one, but it's hard now for a manager at this stage of the season. You've just got to they all say they want time on the training pitch and to get their ideas across, and they always talk about pre-season. Obviously, he hasn't got that luxury at all, so he's going to have to tweak on the job and see if he can stumble across the right formula. And so far, it hasn't been good enough at all, and they've deserved. They haven't won under him, and you'd be hard pressed to say they deserve to pick up points since he took charge.
Yeah, well, I think that's a fair assessment. Sunderland certainly need to get going sooner rather than later. Billy, let's get your score prediction here.
I'm going to go 2-0 Wigan.
Okay. Chris, how do you call it?
Yeah, another Wigan win. I'll go 2-1.
Okay, we'll see what happens there. Back in the Latics to beat the Black Cats this weekend. Before we go from the weekend preview on Football League TV, we're going to look at League Two. We'll start with Newport County against Tranmere, two sides that have promotion aspirations this season. Chris, Newport at home, they're going to feel like they can get one over Tranmere this weekend. A repeat of the playoff final from a couple of years back as well.
Yeah, it is. I think remember we talked about Newport about a month ago. I think they were going to Forest Green and they were looking as though they had the top three in their sides and they haven't won since then. So they're not in the best of form, but they can take encouragement from their home form. I think they've just only lost 3 all season. So that is it's obviously a positive, and it's going to need to be if they are going to make the playoffs or even automatic promotion. So yeah, it's obviously a tough game. I know Tranmere are a good side. They don't concede many goals, but they don't score too many either. So you'd expect a tough competitive game, and I think Newport at home they will fancy their chances, but they need to get back after this poor little run that they're on.
Yes, it's interesting, isn't it, Billy? It's two sides that you would expect to remain in at least playoff and potentially promotion contention for the rest of the season, but both are in pretty patchy form. Tranmere are struggling for wins as well in the last few games. How do they go about it, the away side this weekend?
Yeah, as you say, both teams entering dodgy form at a time of the season where you don't really want to be doing that. You want to be hitting the playoffs or, trying to hit the automatics in good form. There's still, a large chunk of the season left to play, and there's plenty of twists and turns left in this League Two season. But for Tranmere particularly, they've been in and around it for quite some time now, that if they do drop off, it will be a real disappointment, especially when you consider how resolute they have been defensively this season. One of the best sort of defensive records I think that League Two has seen in a while. So, in that respect, it's now about Tranmere just digging out a result. That they're loosening their grip, and it's ultimately now about results. I said it before about Wimbledon. Playing football sort of doesn't go out the window, but it doesn't become the ultimate priority. Now it's just about the 3 points, especially when you are in the position they are. And I think they'll be looking at teams like Exeter, Swindon, and Bristol Rovers, all hitting really good form and starting to worry about their security in the top 3, and then even further than that, top 7 if they're unable to secure a victory here. As I said, the defensive record is the thing that is keeping them together at the moment. Peter Clark, 40 years old and still playing an instrumental part in the defence is brilliant to see. But then you've got a really young midfield, and you've got a good strike force as well. So it's they do seem to have all the tools in place. It's just about, as I say, getting back and finding this momentum.
Okay, Tranmere of course played more games than everyone else in the top 7, so they need to keep the results coming or get the results coming again in pretty short order. Let's get to the score predictions then. Chris, how do you see this one going?
I'll go for Newport 1-0.
Okay. Billy, similar thoughts or thinking different?
Yeah, it's a difficult one because obviously Don Telford has been in excellent form, but then you put that against Tranmere's excellent defence, and it's left me not knowing what to do. I'll go 1-0 on the basis that I don't really know what to do here.
Okay, well that's fair enough. Always go down the middle if you're unsure. One final game to talk about in League Two, and that's Leyton Orient against Carlisle. Billy, let's talk Orient first of all. Myself and Marcus from the League Two debate show earlier this week, looking at the relegation battle, and Orient were a side that after the first third of the year were in the playoff conversation, and since then their form's been nothing short of awful. They've lost their last 4 games in a row as well, and they've kind of got to accept that they are at risk of relegation, particularly if they lose against Carlisle this weekend. It's a big game for the O's.
I just can't believe the decline they've embarked on in recent weeks. And I remember that when we were doing the London shows at the start of the season, it was inconsistencies that were halting them from progressing as a top 3 side, and now they're in a position where that they could be fighting for their lives in this division. It's just a crazy turnaround of events, and it doesn't seem too long ago that they were smashing teams like Swindon and Sutton and Exeter by 3 goals plus. It's it seems a long time ago now, and I think when you look at the table as well and you see they're 5 points from the relegation battle, but then look at their goal difference of +7, it just makes for really strange reading at the moment. And whilst you think that that's enough of a reason for them to keep in the division, recent form suggests that it could be a real difficult task of them staying in the division, especially with results picking up just below them. Teams are starting to hit form at the right time, and Matt Harrold, as long as he takes temporary charge, I don't know how long that will be. He definitely has a big job immediately at Leyton Orient.
Certainly does. Chris, as for Carlisle, I mean, I guess one saving grace for Orient this weekend is that Carlisle aren't exactly in brilliant form themselves. They've dropped inside the top two now, bottom two even, given Oldham's decent form down at the foot of League Two. But having said all that, Carlisle know a win is really going to shake things up near the bottom and bring some of those sides like Orient just above them a lot closer in the fight. How do you think Carlisle will go about this match on Saturday?
Yeah, I think it's pretty remarkable how tight it could be if Carlisle do get a win. I think Oldham's form is not what anyone needed down the bottom, but yeah, I think Carlisle. I think Paul Simpson's in now, and he's been talking the players up. You know, he's been telling them how good they are, and now it's down to them to try and show that for him. We know he's got a good connection with the club from earlier in his career, so he'll be wanting to get a response out of them, and it'll be interesting to see if he can. I think we say it like with a lot. I think we touched on Leyton Orient there, how they've gone from near the top to down the bottom. It just shows that this league is so competitive. So I wouldn't rule out anyone from getting results on the day. And it's about just performing for the players. I think Simpson will know there is a lot of issues with this Carlisle team, but I think he'll he's certainly saying the right things in terms of trying to get them out of the mess. But yeah, they need to start getting results quickly.
Okay, let's get to the result then. Billy, how do you see this one go?
It's a difficult one. I feel like all this season I've backed Leyton Orient to get out of the mess they've found themselves in, but I don't know if I can keep backing them. It's a difficult one, but as we've just said there, Carlisle were, in a similar kind of form. I'm gonna back them again. I'm gonna go 2-1 Leyton Orient. Okay,
Chris, are you gonna back Orient as well, or can you see something else happening?
Yeah, I think they've just got too much quality. I think they'll edge it 1-0.
Okay, I'll certainly take that. That'd be a big result for the O's if they can achieve it this weekend. That's it for the weekend preview this week, and it's also that's your lot for Football League World TV for this week as well. We'll be back Monday. Just before we go, a quick plug for the channel. Do subscribe to Football League World TV on YouTube, and do like this video as well if you can. That'd be greatly appreciated by us all here at Football League World. Billy, Chris, great to get your thoughts on the weekend's action that's coming up. Some interesting stuff in there. Have good weekends. Speak to you on Monday, and people at home as well will speak to you very soon. But for now, bye for now.